Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Obregon and I'm with Workforce Solutions Capital Area as a Career and Education Outreach Specialist. And today we're talking about turning things down. Well, kind of. Really, this job jumpstart is going to talk about how, as an employee, you can say no in a way that isn't rude or disrespectful, but actually helps your team and your organization as a whole. You are entitled to voice your opinion and protect yourself from being in uncomfortable situations, and of course, always being respectful and professional, but without fear that you may get in trouble or even fired, which I understand could be a big deal for someone that could be entering the workforce for the first time, or just someone that hasn't had a lot of experience with confrontation or knowing how to navigate that world. So let's talk a little bit more about knowing how to say no and setting your limitations, saying to someone very confidently, hey, this is what I can or cannot do in a way that isn't going to be destructive, but rather constructive. So let's get started. So let's talk a little bit more about the comparison between an assertive way to talk to someone and an aggressive way to talk to someone. So when you're standing up for yourself, you're being assertive. You're saying that you have beliefs, values, needs that you are not going to waver on. And you're always going to be able to voice this if you're assertive in a respectful way that's not threatening or violent. So that's probably the most important things to realize about being assertive versus aggressive. Because when you're being aggressive, you're attacking, it's more threatening to someone, and you may find yourself losing your temper a little bit or finding yourself kind of have your blood boiling in a way. And so typically you can hurt someone when you act upon aggression and forget about what it means to be assertive. So definitely want to consider those two different things and realize that there is a big difference in just the words that you'd say could make a difference in how you could either be assertive or aggressive. But yeah, just think about it. I mean, if you're being attacked about your own beliefs and your own values, wouldn't that feel not great? Well, that's the reason why we want to make sure that in a professional setting, we're always saying how we feel and making I statements like I feel that or I think, but not saying or accusing someone of saying like you made me feel this way. It's like more about putting on yourself, and that already will make a big difference in the way that you communicate with someone at work. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about situations now in which you can put your assertiveness into work to make sure that it works for you in your day-to-day job. So let's think of the idea that someone, your boss, gave you a task to do, and you already have a million things to do. You're thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't have the time. So the more aggressive way to combat this or this confrontation would be to say, there's no way I have time for this. But instead, a more assertive way you could say that is like, hey, can you help me prioritize my project list? Because once you have that conversation with your sort of supervisor, your manager, it makes them be on the same page as you when it comes to the things that you have on your mind for the week, for the month, projects. And that way you can go down the list and say, okay, this can take, we could put this on the back burner, or this has to be done today or this week. No way that we can bend that, but at least that way you have a conversation about what it looks like when you don't have the time for it and you don't want to overburn yourself, of course. So that's how you can be assertive versus aggressive. Let's look at another situation here. So here we have Bugs Bunny. He's just spitting out the word no, which yes, in some places in the work environment, it could work for what you want to achieve. However, if you over the long term, you're saying no to a lot of things, chances are that people are going to stop coming to you for things because you're going to seem like the person that's just going to say no and turn them away. And that's not what you want in a team, of course. So the situation here is that you disagree with the strategy at hand. Instead, with the aggressive way they can combat that is by saying, I don't think that'll work. But you can make that more of an assertive way of disagreeing with a project or something by saying, hey, can I throw out another idea? Because that way you're not dismissing the other idea that was already given by another teammate, but rather you're adding your input. And that way you're opening up the floor to discussing your disagreement with the strategy at hand or any other task or any opinion of someone else, but you're not shutting it down because that could be, could come off the wrong way, could come off a little disrespectful and aggressive. So that's the way to combat the Bugs Bunny no by saying, hey, can I throw out another idea? So those are two situations in which you can always be assertive versus aggressive. And I know it's a little bit of a fine line to go with, but you definitely can work with that and you definitely have the ability to figure it out. Now let's look at another situation. So let's say you have been at your job for a while and you want to ask your boss for a raise, and you say, hey, so and so, I want to talk to you about my achievements over the last year or 6 months, and I think I'm up for a raise. And what if they say no? Just, hey, it's not the time. We're not giving anybody any raises this 6 months or a year. There's three ways you can handle that. You can start with the passive way, just saying, oh, that's okay. And then you try to forget that you got rejected. But of course, if you have long-term goals to be somewhere financially, this probably won't work. You end up like the crying little cat. But then you can turn into the other extreme and be aggressive and say, you threaten your boss saying like, hey, I can look for jobs elsewhere if you're not going to give me a raise. If you don't get the raise, things could get ugly, right? Because maybe it's out of their control. Maybe it's not something that they can't give you themselves, but they know that you're up for it. So you probably don't want to hurt your chances. Don't burn any bridges by going the aggressive route. And then the best way you can, of course, handle the situation is by being assertive, keeping your cool. So the best way to do that is just to take some time, take a second before you reply to an email. Or if you're having that conversation in person, don't blur out something that comes straight from emotion, because we act on emotion so often that you want to make sure you can try to keep your cool. Think more logically. Think about you want to be able to communicate with your supervisor on the future of the organization, asking them like, when will it be a good time to talk about a raise? When is the opportunity going to come up again? Because that way you can work on making tangible goals and working on different or specific tasks or projects that then you can supplement to show your boss, hey, I've done this and that over this amount of time. I think it's a good time now to talk about the salary increase that I feel like I deserve. So again, the best way is keeping your cool as this cat and being assertive, not passive, because you won't get much anywhere, or not aggressive either. So the last takeaways is just a quick recap of everything that we've covered. And it really is just three things that I want you to remember. Don't overdo it with overtime. Yes, money is nice to accrue, of course, but what comes with overworking yourself over a long period of time, always going to 150% in your efforts, is that stress comes with that, fatigue, and unfortunately, dissatisfaction over time with your job. And that happens only when you overwork yourself, you don't take days off. So, of course, the next step is to think about taking a day off regularly. So, you want to see how long you can accrue vacation hours for? That's great. However, you start realizing that that could backfire on you if you just start feeling like complete fatigue at work because you realizing like, oh, I will take this vacation eventually. You have this time, and if you feel like you need to take a break, take that break. And last but not least, if you feel that you have done your best, you've practiced your assertiveness, and you start thinking like maybe there's something else that I'm missing in my workplace. I mean, a lot of the times we don't consider how mental health really affects us on our day-to-day basis, especially in a pandemic like in 2020 that we're in right now. So you have to maybe sometimes consider additional support. Social anxiety can cause so many of the problems that we deal with social interactions, and if that seems to be the case for you, I never would stray someone away from seeking a professional counseling or therapy, because that can help you in so many ways to better help you grow professionally, look into yourself, and that way you can work on personal relationships around you at work as well. So it goes twofold. Y'all, that's it for today. I just wanted to get on here and give you a quick overview of what it's like to say no and how to set your limits to what you are capable of doing at work so you don't overwork yourself, so you continue to be a great employee day after day at your job, because that's all we want to ever do, right? So if you love this video and you want to keep looking at more information and different bite-sized videos that we have offered on our YouTube channel, follow us on YouTube. You also have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and our handle is WFS Capital Area. And if you also like the video, but you have an idea of another theme that you'd like for us to cover, please email us at k-12awareness@WFS Capital Area. It's been such a pleasure. You have a wonderful day and take care. Bye.